Information presented on this program and by its guests is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information and may not be suitable for members of the listening audience. A professional advisor, attorney, or tax professional should be consulted before implementing any of the strategies presented.
Are you retired or getting close? Welcome to Retirement Lifestyles with Patrick McNally, where it's all about having the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live your dream retirement. Are there challenges on the way? You bet. Inflation, the economy, and the ups and downs of today's markets will try to rob you of your dreams. But take heart and take notes, because what you're about to learn will put you on the winning side of life for the rest of your life. Now, here's the host of Retirement Lifestyles, Patrick McNally.
Good morning, Reading. Good morning to the North State. Welcome to Retirement Lifestyles. This is the show where it's all about having the health, the wealth, the freedom to live your dream retirement. I am your host, Patrick McNally. With me, as always, my friend, fellow financial advisor, Mr. Rick Comerick. Man, how are you doing on a beautiful day in Redding, California?
It is a beautiful day. I went for my walk already, so I'm feeling good, getting that sunshine out. And then, of course, yesterday was also a day off. The markets were closed, and so had a great day yesterday. Went to the all citywide Good Friday service at the Civic Center at 4 p.m., and it was really good. How about yourself?
We did the same. We went to the 8 o'clock, so they had the 4, the 6, and the 8.
Yep.
And Kelly, I think you went to the 6. We hit them all. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, I am so happy they brought that back.
Right. Yeah. It's been, since COVID time, they basically stopped during that time, and now they've brought it back.
And I remember when they started it, 15 or so years ago.
Yeah.
I thought it was such a great idea.
Yeah.
And then did it for so many years, and then, the COVID kind of interrupted stuff. So super happy to see them bring that back, and happy Easter to everyone who's listening out there. An amazing weekend. And, couldn't be a more beautiful day to kick off Easter weekend.
Absolutely. It's always fun having these nice sunny days for Easter. I know at our church we're going to have a little brunch and then also an Easter egg, hunt for the kids. Awesome. And so a lot of fond memories with my kids and now my grandchild.
Oh, I'm going to start calling you Grandpa.
You can just call me Grandpa.
I'm going to introduce you, my friend, fellow advisor, and Grandpa, Rick Comerick.
So that's so cool. I'll be out taking pictures of everybody, and it'll be a fun time.
That's awesome. Awesome stuff. Yeah, amazing. With this weather comes, changes working around the house. We barked this past couple days. Well, I say we. Yeah, not that kind of bark.
Not that kind.
I do have a dog that barks, but not quite like that. We barked our yard.
Okay. Little spring cleaning.
Well, and when I say we, I hired it. I didn't.
Nice.
Let's get this straight. I don't do that.
Yeah,
so. I've done it, and we went with a little different color theme this year. Actually, Rick, we used black bark.
Okay,
and
black
it
bark.
looked sharp.
Nice.
Super good. And thank you to Axner and they do a great job over there and delivered it and all that good stuff. Spoiled us. So
cool.
Yeah, it's that time of the year, man.
Yeah.
We're getting stuff ready.
Freshen up. Yeah.
Hey, the show today, we're going to talk about portfolios, obviously. This is a show about retirement planning. For Rick and I, it is all about the income in retirement, planning so that you can have the retirement lifestyle of your dreams. Well, how do you do that in the best possible way? We want to compare and contrast some different portfolios. We picked one of the ones that we use for our clients. Now, obviously, everybody's different. They've got different goals, but this is one of my personal favorite ones that we use, and I want to share that with you and give you some different ideas about why we use that, kind of the mindset behind that, and then compare that to actually the way that other people set up their portfolios, and by other people, I mean how their advisors typically set that up. And Rick, we'll just kind of walk through that. When we come back, we're gonna kind of mix it up a little bit. We're gonna do a market report first, because that's gonna help set the stage for the talk that we have with the portfolios. So we got some great stuff to talk to you guys about. You know what to do next. Go refill your coffee, get your pen and notepad, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
You're listening to Retirement Lifestyles with Patrick McNally.
Okay, guys, so we're taking a quick break, and I thought this would be a great time to invite you to join the Retirement Lifestyles Inner Circle. If you like listening to the radio show, you're going to love this. Each and every week, I'm going to email you all of our most updated financial planning tips and strategies right to your inbox. On top of that, whenever we create a new checklist or a guide, you'll be the first to get it. all the updated numbers for Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and more. You'll get previews of upcoming live radio shows and notifications of when we record new videos. Membership to the Inner Circle is free, so don't wait. Sign up today at patrickmcnally.com and get immediate access to our exclusive content. Visit patrickmcnally.com. That's patrickmcnally.com. Are you one of the 77 million baby boomers ready to claim what's rightfully yours? That's right. I'm talking about Social Security. You paid into the system for 40 years or more, and now it's time to collect. If you're like most people, you may have some questions or even feel overwhelmed and confused. After all, the claiming strategies vary, and choosing the wrong one could end up costing you hundreds of thousands over a full retirement. And the worst part is, you may not even know what choices you're missing. If you want to maximize your benefits and feel confident in the decision you make, let my team run a Social Security benefits analysis for you. We'll show you multiple strategies so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. For more information and to request your own Social Security analysis, visit patrickmcnally.com. That's patrickmcnally.com.
Welcome back to Retirement Lifestyles.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We're actually going to kick it off and start a little bit different. About the halfway mark, we typically do a market update, but we're going to kick off this next segment first with a market update, kind of bring you up to speed on what's been going on, and that's going to help lead us into the discussion Rick and I want to have about our favorite portfolio, one of our favorite portfolios that we use with our clients for income. And then we're going to compare and contrast that to the way that most advisors set up their clients in retirement with the typical portfolio. And that's going to help give you a sense of why we do that, kind of the mindset behind that. So, Rick, take it away. Give us a little bit of a market update. What's going on?
All right. Stocks were mostly down. The S&P 500 fell about 1.5%. The NASDAQ dropped 2.6%, and the Dow slipped 2.7%. Only mid-sized companies managed a small gain. Why? The big story was tariffs. Some electronics dodged new taxes, but other products from China are still getting hit. Plus, there's talks of more tariffs coming on things like cars and computer chips. Big chip makers warned about billions in losses because they can't sell as much to China. One of the largest health insurers disappointed investors with lower earnings, dragging down the healthcare sector. Some big banks did report better than expected results, helping steady the market a bit in the early part of the week. Retail sales jumped. People spent more in March, but some experts think it's just getting ahead of some inflation hikes. Also, fewer new homes are being started, likely because of the higher mortgage rates that we're currently in. So what are we looking forward to? Some more earnings coming up, and we'll keep on top of it, each and every week.
So retail sales, I know that I helped with that.
You helped boost the retail sales?
Week before last when I was at the Masters golf tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
You did your fair share?
I probably moved the market
right.
with the amount of money I spent on Masters merchandise. They said that the Masters golf tournament that week will bring in between $70 and $80 million.
Wow.
Just in merchandise sales.
Wow.
That's how ridiculous us golfers are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and you explained to me that was a one-time opportunity. You cannot purchase that merchandise anywhere else.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. The only place you could get it would be like eBay, secondhand.
Okay. Right.
But you can't buy it online.
Okay.
You can't buy it in any golf shop.
Okay.
So literally, the only place you can get. So if you see somebody wearing Masters gear, like me, in Reading, proudly, the only place you can literally get it is at the golf tournament.
Okay.
Which is actually kind of special.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, let's talk about this. So the market, there's so many ins and outs because when you go through these market updates, you talk about all the different sectors, you talk about all the stuff going on with tariffs, taxes, all these factors go into why the market moves up and down.
Right.
Well, most people, they don't necessarily nerd out like we do and kind of look at those factors and understand why the market's doing that. They just see the market moving up and down, and that can cause some emotional stuff, that can cause anxiety, that can cause a lot of excitement when the market's going up.
Right.
But we don't necessarily get below the surface and talk about why it's doing that. So it's great that you break it down like that and we can understand why it's moving. But more importantly, when people want to get to retirement, it's how they set up their portfolio that's going to be different than when they're working. Now, if you've listened to our show before, you've heard us talk about this, that when you first start out in a job, maybe in your 20s or 30s, whatever, you're in your career, you're starting to save for retirement. You got your 401k or, whatever retirement you have. You're putting money away. You're sacrificing money from your paycheck. But the important thing is you've got a paycheck. That's what pays your bills. You are putting money away, and you want to see that thing grow for 30, 40 years and get you to retirement. But now you get to retirement, and you have to look at, do I invest the same way I did for 30, 40 years, or should I be doing things different? Rick, you and I think that people should be doing things different. Why?
Well, first of all, I'll say that they can do things differently, because when you're investing in a 401k, typically you're limited to only the mutual funds that are available in the 401k. So when you get to retirement, or you're at retirement eligible age, you actually have the opportunity to invest differently than you were before. And that's a great thing, because you ask the question, why should we invest differently? And, the chief reason for that is because you're no longer earning an income from works. Therefore, you need your investments to generate an income in order to pay for your lifestyle in retirement.
And I think that's such a big thing for people to understand. And it's so obvious. It's almost laughable that you don't get a paycheck anymore.
Right.
You are no longer getting a paycheck. You have to create one. And part of the planning that we do, we love it when people come and see us when they're about 2 years from retiring. Now, I also love it when people come to see us and like, I'm 10 years out and thinking about it. Okay, right. Sweet. It's awesome you're doing that planning. But that 2-year mark is when you can really do the specific part of planning, which is the income planning.
Yeah.
You start to look at, okay, what sources of income are going to be coming in? Okay, we're going to have a couple of Social Securities. Oh, you've got a rental property. Oh, you've got maybe an old pension from a company, whatever. Those are your income sources coming in. Okay, what are your bills? Well, congratulations, you paid your house off. You got your credit cards under control. So you've got maybe some expenses.
But I've got some bad news.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, even when you get your house paid off, you still got to pay the insurance and the taxes. So you still got a bill to pay.
Do you mean I never really actually owned my house outright?
Right.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show, but that's where we talk about, hey, you still have to have an income coming in to pay bills, because you still got bills.
You still got overhead.
Even when the house is paid off.
Exactly. But you still got gasoline for the car. You got stuff to pay for. And if your Social Security and all those other incomes don't cover that, you create what's called an income gap. Well, the way to fill that gap is going to be with your investments. So what's the best way to set up your portfolio to create income for you in retirement? That's where things, what Rick and we agree with, is that's where things, you got to have a mind shift in retirement. Because when you're saving for money, Rick, in those 401ks, and you mentioned the different choices and things you have, when you're saving for retirement, you want growth.
Right.
Growth. That is the number one thing on your mind. You may be taking more, quote-unquote, risk in your portfolio. On top of that, you're putting money in, so you want to see it grow. In retirement, you have to have the mind shift of, I need income first. Growth second. It doesn't mean that growth isn't important, but growth becomes second. And that, for a lot of people, can be hard to do because we're so used to looking at just the bottom line balance on our statements.
Right.
And a lot of times people make judgment decisions or make changes to their portfolios solely based on the bottom balance of their portfolio. And that's where I think people can get into a lot of trouble, especially in times when the markets are super volatile.
Yeah.
So when we come back from this next break, we're going to break down our favorite portfolio compared to kind of the traditional portfolio that a lot of advisors, I would say, unfortunately, are still using for retirees and why we think it may not be the best choice. I want to say this as well. If you want access to our checklists, reports, guides, helping you get into retirement so that you're prepared, I want you to visit patrickmcnally.com. Do it during the break here. You can download those. You can also join the Retirement Lifestyles Inner Circle, where we will send you emails consistently when there's any updates in our checklist. All of this is free. Just go to patrickmcnally.com, sign up today. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Don't touch that dial. Patrick will be right back.
Okay, guys, so we're taking a quick break, and I thought this would be a great time to invite you to join the Retirement Lifestyles Inner Circle. If you like listening to the radio show, you're going to love this. Each and every week, I'm going to email you all of our most updated financial planning tips and strategies right to your inbox. On top of that, whenever we create a new checklist or a guide, you'll be the first to get it. All the updated numbers for Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and more. You'll get previews of upcoming live radio shows and notifications of when we record new videos. Membership to the Inner Circle is free, so don't wait. Sign up today at patrickmcnally.com and get immediate access to our exclusive content. Visit patrickmcnally.com. That's patrickmcnally.com. You've heard me say it's all about having the health, wealth, and freedoms you need to live your dream retirement. When it comes to the health side, I want to tell you about my family's personal chiropractor, Dr. Todd Royce, owner of Chiropractic First. Not only does he adjust us and get us back to our active lives, he teaches us about ongoing nutrition and living healthier. If you have any pain or stiffness in your back or neck, I want you to call Chiropractic First today at 243-0889. Mention Patrick for a free consultation. You don't need to live with pain or discomfort anymore. Call Dr. Todd at 243-0889. Or visit online at chirofirst.net. Patrick McNally here, owner of Retirement Lifestyles Advisors. I want to take a couple of seconds and talk to you about annuities. Depending on what you've heard, annuities can be good or bad. In my opinion, it all depends on what kind of income you want. Do you want a guaranteed pension income that will never run out as long as you live and isn't affected by the stock market? Well, an annuity might be good for you. Do you want an income stream that will continue on to your spouse if you check out on life before they do? An annuity might be right for you. But you need to be careful. There are some insurance people out there who don't have your best interest at heart. That's why you should talk with an income planning specialist that can answer your questions and discuss all of the pros and cons of annuities. I'm here to help. Visit patrickmcnally.com to schedule a free, no-obligation strategy phone call. Go now to patrickmcnally.com. That's patrickmcnally.com.
Welcome back to Retirement Lifestyles.
Welcome back to the show. Rick, let's launch into talking about portfolios. We talked about the market. We talked about how some people might be feeling a little anxiety, a little bit of emotion. We talked about how you should be potentially looking at investing differently once you get to retirement, because you and I believe that you got to put income first.
Right.
You are going to still get growth, but growth comes with time. Growth is something we can't control.
Right.
And that's why, when you're working in your job, you got 20, 30, 40 years to let that market do its thing.
Right.
You're focused on all that growth.
Yeah.
But in retirement, you need income now.
Right.
So that has to become the number one piece, the forefront of your planning. And so what investments do you use for that? Rick, one of my favorite portfolios that we use at Retirement Lifestyles for our clients, and folks, let me preface it with this. Don't just run out and change your portfolio. This isn't investment advice for you. Everybody does stuff different, has different goals. This is just an example of one of the portfolios that we use with a lot of our clients. And Rick, that is a mixture of dividend stocks and annuity contracts.
Right.
A lot of people think, and this has been, we've heard this for years, that you should have a mix of stocks and bonds.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Bonds were kind of considered, I guess, the safer part of your portfolio in retirement.
Right.
Bonds were considered an income source for
Right.
retirees in retirement. But what would you say, why would bonds may not be the best place to generate your full income for retirement?
Well, first of all, as we go back to, suffering some of these downturns and losses and looking at the bottom line, is first and foremost, we have to fundamentally understand that bonds can and do lose value. And a lot of people saw that in their municipal bonds and others during the last, 5 years or so as interest rates went up. Mm-hmm. Those values went way down. And so that was a shocker to a lot of people. So just putting that back on the table, that although bonds certainly are a diversification element to your portfolio, they're not necessarily going to shield you from that risk side per se. But what I would say is looking at certain fixed annuities as sort of a bond alternative is you get a couple advantages. Number one, the reality is that these annuity companies, they purchase bonds, and so they're going to have greater buying power than you and I do. They're institutional investors. Number two is that the fixed annuities don't go down in value with their principal. So, you get that safety aspect to it. And then I'm sure where you're going next with it is also you can add an income element to that fixed annuity to where it guarantees a pension-like income for life, for example.
You totally stole my thunder.
I thought I was starting
when you said bond alternative. That's my phrase, man. That's exactly what it is, though. It is a bond alternative to that type of planning. And for the exact reasons that you said, bond income is not guaranteed. Right? So when we look at a portfolio for our clients, again, leading with that income focus in mind, we want to look at how is the entire portfolio going to give you that income. Well, with dividend stocks, you are in the market. But dividends play a pivotal role because you can actually separate the growth from the income with that. You can decide when you own the dividend stock outright, you own that company, you're an owner of the company. Owners get paid a share of the profit of that company. That's what a dividend is. And what you can say is, you know what? Send me those dividends each month. They'll pay in cash. They get direct deposited right to your account. But guess what? You're not selling any shares. That is the key, I guess, pro and con to that traditional advisory portfolio where they say, well, we're going to put you in a diversified 70-30 of stocks and bonds. The only way to get your money out is to sell. You have to sell parts of that portfolio. But in a dividend portfolio, you don't have to do that. You've got the choice. I can either reinvest these right back in. If you don't need the money and you want to continue with some growth, that's going to help. I call it turbo boosting your investments. Or you can take that as income. The annuities play a pivotal role. The bond alternative, like you said, in that there are guarantees because it's an insurance contract. It's not a security. So what I like to do, though, is kind of maybe even space out by multiple annuities. I call it laddering annuities. The reason to do that, say you own maybe 3 different contracts, is you can literally, to the penny, look at what is this going to pay me 5 years from now? And then what's the next one going to pay me 10 years from now? What's the next one going to pay me 15 years from now? So not only do you have that dividend income coming in, you can kind of give yourself a guaranteed income boost, say every 5 years. You just bump it up. Like, hey, turn on that contract. And guess what? That pays for your entire life. And not only that, you could actually opt to have it pay for your spouse's life as well. So you've got guaranteed income coming from that bond alternative portfolio. You're not worried about interest rates going up and down, affecting the income rate. You've got a guaranteed pension-like paycheck coming in that's going to pay for your life, possibly your spouse's. Plus, you've got that dividend income that could increase each and every year. More on that in a later segment. But we got to go to a hard break. But folks, also, I want you to stay tuned because I've got a special guest, my friend, Dr. Todd Royce from Chiropractic First. Got some exciting news on some upcoming, slow down, Patrick, upcoming events that you need to know about. So don't go anywhere. We're back in just a minute. Hey, guys, we're at the halfway point of the show, and this is when I want to tell you about my updated 2025 planning checklist. I'm sure you know that retirement involves a lot more paperwork and deadlines than most people realize. These checklists give you the guidance you need on taxes, Social Security, Medicare, retirement account distributions, year-end tasks, and more. It compiles multiple deadlines and tasks in a simple-to-read format to help you see at a glance what needs to be done and when. The checklists include key financial and tax data, the retirement calendar checklist, key planning and investment deadlines, the Medicare quick reference guide, and much more. As a thank you for listening to the show, I put all of these into a bundle that you can download for free. That's right. No cost, no obligation. Simply visit patrickmcnally.com and click on the 2025 checklist bundle. That website again is patrickmcnally.com. That's patrickmcnally.com.
Welcome back to Retirement Lifestyles.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us. This is Retirement Lifestyles. I'm your host, Patrick McNally. With me, as always, Mr. Rick Comerick, my fellow advisor and grandpa.
That's right.
I'm
That's
saying
right.
that from now on.
Yep.
That's just going to be part of the show from now on.
First Easter grandpa.
Oh, hallelujah.
Yep.
And I'm super excited. We've got Dr. Todd Royce in here with us as a guest on the show. And you've heard Dr. Todd on the show because he's been the chief sponsor of our show for like 14 years. He has been, it's been like 14, it's 14 in August.
Yeah.
Woo! And we're super grateful for Todd and Chiropractic First for being a sponsor that long. Super awesome. And Todd's been my family's personal chiropractor for 13 of that 14 years. So, Dr. Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. And happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Super, super cool. And you've got an exciting workshop coming up. Tell us all about it, when it's happening, and what it's all about.
So we're seeing as Rick knows, on the pickleball courts, on the golf course, on everybody walking at CrossFit gyms everywhere. There's so much knee pain, it's crazy. And I've been, taking care of patients downtown for 27 years and seen a lot of knee pain over the years. Helped with adjustments and exercises and recommending massages and physical therapy and things like that. But I discovered something recently that has just blown my mind in its effectiveness for knee pain, and it's called SoftWave. And it is a shock energy generator that is regenerating knee tissue, and it's amazing.
Wow.
Literally regenerating tissue. Okay, we need to hear more about this. Shockwave.
Yeah.
Ricky, you got
Yeah, I mean, how does this work? This is very intriguing,
Yes, so what it does is essentially it's stimulating the body to initiate its own repair. So we have our own stem cells ready for battle. We have our own blood vessel capability, building new blood vessels. So what this does is along the joint, and it can go in any joint, but we're particularly focused in this upcoming workshop on knee pain. So whether you've been told it's bone on bone or a meniscus or a sprain or a ligament, this thing can actually, when it stimulates the body to initiate repair, it will bring in new stem cells. Stem cells are such a craze right now. People paying $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 to have stem cells injected into their knee, which can create all sorts of problems. But this machine, this SoftWave, actually initiates the body to send its own stem cells in its own blood vessels, and it actually repairs damaged tissue, leading to pain relief and people being back on the pickleball court and the golf course and everything else.
So if I understand you right, Todd, you've brought this machine into your practice.
Yes,
you
exactly.
own this machine.
That's
okay,
right.
So you're not sending this out. You own this machine, and this thing is like, in my mind, I'm like, is it like a little gun with you just like shoot it on your knee? Because I've had that stuff like with cryotherapy.
Yes.
Where they just like freeze your knee. So is it something where it's very directed, or is this like something that you lay down and go into? Like, what does that look like?
It's very directed. There's a wand. If anyone's ever had ultrasound, it looks a little bit like an ultrasound unit, but costs about 20 times more. But it leads shockwaves. It sends shockwaves at 3,355 miles an hour into about the depth of a soup can, about 10 centimeters into a tissue. And so we target it into areas of the joint. And so what it does is we're actually looking for this neurobiofeedback of someone. When we're on someone's knee, if there is damaged tissue in there, they're going to feel it right on there. They say, oh, there's the spot right there.
Oh, wow.
And we're looking for actually a little bit of pain or biofeedback in the specific area. And that signals that, yes, the machine's working to initiate the healing and to regenerate tissue.
Is this something that somebody who's maybe already had surgery in the past on their knees, maybe like a meniscus tear or something like that, is this something that they could potentially use as well if they're still having some lingering pain, things like that?
Definitely. It's both. It has prevented a lot of surgeries, but also helped people recover, because inevitably with any surgery, even if it's arthroscopic, it doesn't really matter. There's damage to the tissue. There's going to be scarring in the tissue. So this will initiate healing into the tissue.
So even if you've already had that, it could be totally beneficial. But I'm not a big fan of surgery, period. Mm-hmm. So if this is something that can be preventative, or you're just kind of feeling uneasy or something and can tackle it right away, that sounds like a no-brainer.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. And it's used by all sorts of pro sports teams, universities, tons of very, very famous athletes use it regularly to stay in the game. And so we're offering, as you mentioned, it's a workshop. It's going to be at From the Hearth downtown, right next to my office. It's on the 29th, Tuesday night, the 29th, just over a week from now. And it's at 5:30 at From the Hearth. It's at $30, which just includes your dinner. And so people can come. So a lot of people are kind of leery, like, what is this thing? And they don't want to come in for a consultation. And people can call the office and do a consultation. We can do the machine on them if they don't have time to come to the workshop or are unable. But this workshop is a free thing. We're actually going to demonstrate it live on a random person who shows up.
Nice.
And we're going to have people there who've already done it before, and they'll be talking about their experience. But we're going to.
Can I get a volunteer, please?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun with that. I think everyone will probably volunteer once they hear about it. Because
I would think so.
Yeah,
I might be the first to raise my hand for sure. It's like, oh yeah, let's try it out. Okay, so say it again. So it's on the 29th.
Yep.
At what time?
At 5:30 p.m.
5:30 p.m. Dinner's included at From the Hearth.
Yep.
Do people need to RSVP and sign up for this ahead of time?
Definitely, because we got to order food for you.
Okay.
So they can go to reddingpain.com. And register there, or they can call the office downtown at 243-0889.
I love it. Folks, you got to go to the seminar. Like Dr. Todd said, sometimes people can feel a little leery or just kind of like, I don't know if I want to go, kind of a thing. This is a no obligation, no pressure opportunity to meet Dr. Todd, see this new machine. Sounds super exciting, especially if you got knee pain. This is a no-brainer. Go out to dinner on the 29th, get you a meal, learn how this thing works, and you could potentially be pain-free, back on the pickleball court, back on the golf course. As soon as you back doing what you love to do, which is remaining active. And that's what I love about Todd and his team at Chiropractic First. They keep me active. They keep me our whole family. That's what they do, is pain-free, active, doing the things that we want to do. And that's why he's been such a long-time sponsor of the show. So, Todd, thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome. And why your stud Ryan just broke the foothill 100-meter record again.
Yes, he did.
Stud.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Great work.
He keeps Ryan healthy and running fast. That's what we do. Hey, we got a quick break we're going to go to. But when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation on one of our favorite portfolios and how you can choose if it might work for you or doing what you're doing. We're back in 2 minutes.
Smooth. You're listening to Retirement Lifestyles with Patrick McNally.
Okay, guys, so we're taking a quick break, and I thought this would be a great time to invite you to join the Retirement Lifestyles Inner Circle. If you like listening to the radio show, you're going to love this. Each and every week, I'm going to email you all of our most updated financial planning tips and strategies right to your inbox. On top of that, whenever we create a new checklist or a guide, you'll be the first to get it. All the updated numbers for Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and more. You'll get previews of upcoming live radio shows and notifications of when we record new videos. Membership to the Inner Circle is free, so don't wait. Sign up today at patrickmcnally.com and get immediate access to our exclusive content. Visit patrickmcnally.com. That's patrickmcnally.com. You've heard me say it's all about having the health, wealth, and freedoms you need to live your dream retirement. When it comes to the health side, I want to tell you about my family's personal chiropractor, Dr. Todd Royce, owner of Chiropractic First. Not only does he adjust us and get us back to our active lives, he teaches us about ongoing nutrition and living healthier. If you have any pain or stiffness in your back or neck, I want you to call Chiropractic First today at 243-0889. Mention Patrick for a free consultation. You don't need to live with pain or discomfort anymore. Call Dr. Todd at 243-0889. Or visit online at chirofirst.net. Are you getting close to 65? If so, Medicare is right around the corner. And if it hasn't happened already, your mailbox is about to explode with Medicare information from insurance companies. Which company do you pick? What's Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D? Oh my gosh, how many parts are there? Is Medicare automatic? Is it free? Does it cover everything? These are just some of the questions we get all the time. If you want to cut through all the noise and learn the facts, visit patrickmcnally.com and download your free copy of my 2025 Quick Reference Guide to Medicare. You'll learn all about the costs, the enrollment periods, and so much more on this Medicare Reference Guide. Visit patrickmcnally.com today and request your free copy. That's patrickmcnally.com.
Welcome back to Retirement Lifestyles.
Welcome back to the show. Rick, let's launch back in here and continue our discussion with the differences in some of the portfolios people are using today out there when it comes to retirement planning. We mentioned one of our favorites that we use with our clients. Again, this isn't investment advice. Talk to your current advisors or give us a call. The call is free. We'll schedule a 30-minute strategy call with us. We'd love to answer any questions that you have. But one of our portfolios that we use a lot, one of my personal favorites, is I kind of do refer to it as like a 70-30. And when people hear 70-30, they typically, in their brains are going, okay, 70% stocks, 30% bonds.
Right.
But you used a great phrase earlier in the show. It's a bond alternative, and we like to use actually fixed annuities.
Right.
Now, annuities for some people, that can be a bad word. You've heard all the negative stuff about annuities.
Right.
One advisor on the internet comes to mind. I hate annuities. You know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
There's various different types of annuities. Like anything, you got to understand what's below the surface. Which one's he talking about?
Right.
We like to use fixed annuities or fixed index annuities for clients because they can provide really a personal pension. Mm-hmm. That's what I like to refer to it as, because you can use the word guarantee when it comes to annuities. Can't use the word guarantee with the market.
Right.
But we can use the word guarantee with annuities. And as an example, and I'm just going to use round numbers, let's say you had somebody with $1 million. If you used this portfolio, you would have $700,000 in the market. And with us, we love a dividend stock portfolio where you own the stocks, diversified portfolio through the different sectors.
Yep.
But you also would own 30% of your portfolio, or in this case, $300,000 in fixed annuities.
Yeah.
And that usually would include probably multiple contracts. The reason I like to break it up and ladder different annuities is because on these contracts, Rick, there are things called income riders. How do those work?
So the way that those work is unlike, I like to contrast it with what I call the plain vanilla, or maybe you'd call it the old school style of income annuity, and that's called a single premium immediate annuity, where you basically turn over your lump sum, your life savings, in exchange for a monthly payment, right, of income. However,
part of your life savings, not all of it.
Part of it, whatever part we're talking about. In that old school style or plain vanilla style annuity, that's a one-way transaction. In other words, you can never get any of your principal back. However, with these newer contracts that allow you to add the income, what they call rider, to the fixed annuity, what that allows you to do is to receive a guaranteed fixed income at some point in time. Kind of like your Social Security, the longer you delay, the higher that income will be.
Because it's growing. It's got a guaranteed rate of return to it.
Exactly. It's growing. You get a higher amount the longer you delay. Plus, your life expectancy is shorter each year that goes on along with that. However, one of the key differences that people like is that they still have access to the principal. Mm-hmm. In other words, if they were to pass away, then their heirs could receive that, and it's not, just going to the insurance company. Or if an emergency came up and they needed to get a little more money out of their account, they could do that. Now, of course, there's implications to doing that, but they have that ability to do that. So
there's liquidity in the contract.
That's right.
One of the reasons people sometimes they shy away from or they don't like annuities is because they really feel like they lock their money up.
Right.
Now, to a degree, yeah, you kind of lock your money up, but you lock your money up when you buy a CD at the bank.
Right.
And guess what? If you pull your money out early, you lose the interest typically on that CD. And so locking up is kind of a I don't like that term. Yeah, you in order to get something, you got to give up something.
Right.
If you want guarantees, you want a pension-like income that pays for the rest of your life, okay, you got to give up a little something.
Right.
And maybe that's some liquidity. But the insurance company said, okay, we hear you. You want access to a little bit. What if we gave you 10% a year penalty-free?
Right.
So that's what can happen. But here's the deal. In that example before, you got $700,000 sitting in the market over here, 100% liquid anytime that you want.
Right.
If you're going to if something comes up and you need cash,
right,
the annuities are typically the last place you're going to go to get that.
Right.
What I like to do is break up those contracts into three different ones, and I kind of mentioned this before. the reason you could do that is flexibility with when you want the income. If you put it all in one contract,
right,
and you're like, hey, turn on the income. Okay, that's it. That's the income that you get. And typically these annuity contracts, like a pension, they don't rise. They're fixed. They don't change in payments.
Right.
What you get is what you get.
Right.
So you got to be careful when you turn them on. That's why I like to use multiple contracts, is because you can turn one on, give yourself a little income raise, and then you could wait 5 years. And kind of like you said, during that 5 years, what are those other contracts doing?
They're growing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which means more income later.
Exactly right.
And the cool thing is, if you say if you had $300,000, you broke it up into $300,000 contracts. They're all starting at the same point. And let's say 5 years from now, that first contract is going to pay you $7,000 a year. Just using some numbers.
Right.
Okay? And then you wait another 5 years.
Right.
Well, again, those other two contracts are continuing to grow. So even though you started with the same money, contract number 2 could potentially pay you $10,000 a year.
Right. And you're still getting the other 7.
Yes. That's the whole awesome point. And then guess what happens on contract number 3? 15 years into retirement, you're like, hey, I'm going to turn this thing on. Well, you might get $15,000 a year, plus the 10, plus the 7.
Yeah.
Add all that up, you've got, guaranteed income coming in for not only your life. If you're married, you could set it up to continue to pay your spouse. And guess what's also happening? All that other money, that balance that you have, is growing in the portfolio, in a dividend portfolio. And Rick, tell us, Kelly's yelling at us to go to another break. Man, I'm going to fire you and just do my show myself. We're going to go to another break. When we come back, though, I'm going to leave it with this cliffhanger. Rick, I want you, when we come back, to tell people what could potentially happen with their dividend income on top of all that guaranteed income.
Right.
We're back in a minute.
Don't touch that dial. Patrick will be right back.
Okay, guys, so we're taking a quick break, and I thought this would be a great time to invite you to join the Retirement Lifestyles Inner Circle. If you like listening to the radio show, you're going to love this. Each and every week, I'm going to email you all of our most updated financial planning tips and strategies right to your inbox. On top of that, whenever we create a new checklist or a guide, you'll be the first to get it. All the updated numbers for Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and more. You'll get previews of upcoming live radio shows and notifications of when we record new videos. Membership to the Inner Circle is free, so don't wait. Sign up today at patrickmcnally.com and get immediate access to our exclusive content. Visit patrickmcnally.com. That's patrickmcnally.com. Are you getting close to retiring and starting to feel overwhelmed with all of the choices you need to make? Social Security, Medicare, estate planning, taxes, rollovers, and investing. It seems like a giant maze, and you're about to go in. We can help you. Head on over to patrickmcnally.com and check out all of our reports, checklists, videos, downloadable guides, and flowcharts, all designed to get you prepared and to stay ahead of the game. You'll be so prepared to retire, it'll almost be unfair. Don't be surprised if your friends and neighbors start asking you for advice. Don't wait. The time is now. Go to patrickmcnally.com. That's patrickmcnally.com.
Welcome back to Retirement Lifestyles.
Welcome back. We're headed into our last segment here, and I don't know if the ads during that break, I couldn't hear them, mentioned the Retirement Lifestyles Inner Circle. Hey, if you're, getting closer to, even if you're in retirement, but if you're getting close to, especially, we send out emails with all the tips, strategies Rick and I talk about on the show, including all of our checklists, reports, when stuff gets updated with Social Security, with Medicare, with taxes. All the core areas of retirement, they change. A lot of that stuff changes every single year, and you need to know about it and need to be updated for your planning. We send those out. It's totally free. Go to patrickmcnally.com and sign up today.
Hey, Patrick, I've got some breaking news coming in over my phone via text. It's actually from my wife, and she said, I did soft wave on my shoulder. It really helped. So that's a callback to Dr. Todd's seminar, which is coming up on the 29th, and you go to reddingpain.com, and that was pretty cool. She just sent that to me, so there's a little testimonial right there.
Testimonial right there. Love it. Hey, Rick, talk to us about dividends. Now, then that last segment, we talked about kind of some annuity contracts, how we like to use them in portfolios for a lot of clients. Just depends on what they need.
Yep.
It's one of our favorite portfolios. So you got that guaranteed income piece. But also, with the equity side, the stock side of our portfolios, we like to use a dividend portfolio. And the reason for that is because it's designed for income. Those dividends pay payments that you can either choose to spend or reinvest back into the portfolio. The core piece of that is the goal is to not sell any of the shares. The dividends, you can do that because dividend payments are based on how many shares you own. That's how you can come up with how much you get paid. You don't have to sell shares, though, in order to get that dividend. Rick, the other cool thing is that dividends, the payments themselves, unlike fixed annuities, which when you turn on the income is fixed and does not change, what can happen with dividend payments?
So, yeah, this is a really cool feature that you alluded to in the first half of our show, and that is that you can get growth as well. Although it's secondary, it's still there. So you can get growth in two ways. Number one, the price of the shares, can grow over time, and we expect them to. But number two, just as important, if not more so, the actual amount of the dividend payment can grow over time as well. How does that happen? Why does that happen? Well, companies become more profitable, get more earnings, and they agree to return some more of that earnings to their shareholders by increasing the dividend. So let's just give like a dollar example to say what it looks like. Maybe, some stock cost $100, right? And maybe they pay a $4, dividend on that. Well, they might declare, now we're going to start to pay $4.25. That was a nice little increase.
Yeah.
And they might do that again the next year or in the next quarter or the next 6 months, whatever it may be.
I was going to say, I've seen it multiple times a year. We get these alerts that say such and such raise their dividend.
So fast forward over time, what you used to receive was $4 on every single share you owned. Now you're receiving $5 on every share that you own.
And I want to clarify this too. You're not owning any more shares.
Right.
A lot of people are like, well, how do I got to buy more shares?
Right.
No. Literally, the company just gave you a pay raise for doing nothing.
Right. For owning all the same shares that you already owned. In addition to that, maybe there is actually a third way, what you call the turbo boosting your retirement. If you, get this program before you start withdrawing those investments and can actually reinvest them, then you are opportunistically able to purchase more shares of more companies, which will pay you more dividends.
I love saying that too. I'm like, more shares equals what? And they go, income. Yes.
Yeah.
You get more paycheck. And especially when the markets are volatile like this, we're actually in a good mood a lot of times when the market's volatile because we're like, we are snatching up shares on the cheap.
Right.
Which means you don't even need the income for 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years, but you're grabbing shares, more shares, and that just means more paycheck later on.
That's right.
Versus how a lot of people invest in retirement, which is I think you called it kind of that vanilla.
Right.
Which is 70% in like mutual funds or ETFs. They don't own individual stocks. Maybe they own a few. But most of the time what we see is they own ETF funds or mutual funds, and then they own bonds or bond funds. Well, in order to get the income out, you do have to sell those shares in order to realize that income.
Yep.
Now, some of these mutual funds, they've got dividend components that all kind of stay inside the fund. You got to sell those, though, in order to get money out. But what if the market's down 20%?
Right.
Well, you're just compounding your losses because now you're selling those shares. And once you sell shares, they're gone.
Yep.
And the only way to get them back is how?
Is to have a huge amount of growth.
The market's got to go up.
Yeah.
And that's something we can't control.
Yeah.
So, but when you own that stock and you can separate the dividend and get those as payments, you're not so worried about the ups and downs of the market every single day.
Yeah.
Because you know, our clients know, they get coached time and time again, and we love to review this each and every year at annual reviews, why they're in this portfolio, is you don't have to worry about those ups and downs because we're not selling shares.
Right.
And you give the market which is what it needs to grow is time in the market.
And so I would say maybe a key takeaway is instead of looking at that bottom line that you mentioned in the beginning of the show, maybe look at the income line. How has my income changed over the past year? Has it remained the same? Has it risen, or has it decreased?
That's a great way to look at it, because on your statements, it will clearly show you what did this portfolio produce as income. And don't be surprised if it's a super low amount of money, even from a percentage wise. Because it's designed for growth. That's what those portfolios are designed to do. So if you got questions about that, maybe you're wondering, man, scratching your head, am I in the right portfolio for this time of my life? It's a great opportunity to do a review. Rick and I will take the data, we'll show you where you are compared to how we do it differently. And at the end of the day, Rick, it's numbers.
Right.
There's no sales. There's nothing weird going on. The numbers don't lie. And we've had conversations where we're like, you know what? For what you want to do, stay where you're at.
Yep.
Or we've had conversations like, well, what you're telling us is you want to do this. This portfolio is not helping you get there.
Yeah.
Could this potentially be a way to get there? And so once you've got all the information, that's how you make the decisions, right?
Yep. You learn, know, and then decide.
That's good stuff. Hey, with that, we are going to say Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Have an amazing weekend. And I'm going to say thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Patrick.
And thank you, Kelly. And thank you for listening to Retirement Lifestyles right here on KQMS.